Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. And we are coming to you live at this fine 6 a.m. hour from the Steven Singer Studios. So welcome in. Hey, I want to start off with this. I want to start off, it's not a light note by any means, but it does invoke beautiful memories of my childhood. I want to start the show with a shout out to Ivan Reitman, who passed away yesterday. And he was director, producer, writer on so many different projects, but of them all, like of my favorites, Ghostbusters. And if you're like me and you're, what did I say yesterday? A late-staged millennial? No, early-stage millennial? Late-stage millennial. Like if you're like 3 months a millennial, like if you were born 3 months later, you wouldn't be a millennial anymore. But anyway, Ivan Reitman is like one of the most talented people to ever go through Hollywood that was just always behind the scenes. And I grew up on Ghostbusters. Like I grew up on those movies. Like not the third one with the ladies. I find all those ladies, all three of them individually, hilarious. I hated that movie. I thought it was a dumb movie. But the original two Ghostbusters movies were amazing. And I understand the most recent one didn't do so well at the box office. But I was always a fan of Ivan Reitman. And when I grew up on those movies, and when I would watch those movies, and whenever I watch those movies now, I am transported back to that stage of my life where I was just this little kid, just laughing at adult jokes in Ghostbusters movies, even though I didn't get them as a kid. And then growing up and realizing, oh, that's what Peter Venkman was up to. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Ivan Reitman and how much he will be missed by all audiences across the world. And he certainly had a profound influence on my life because I would not stop watching his movies when I was growing up. And I remember watching Animal House for the first time. And I didn't see that movie until I was in college. Like I had seen Old School first, and then because that was more my lane. And then I was like, well, all these older people are talking about this movie Animal House, so maybe I should finally see it. And boy, does that withstand the test of time as well. And I just wanted to start off by talking about something non-sports because we're going to get into some serious stuff today. And I'm going to be angry, and I'm going to fight. I'm going to really fight it today, folks. I try to fight anger, which just sounds like it's the tornado's coming mentally. But I try not to get angry too much. And I try to control my temper. And in my youth, my temper would kind of fly off the handle. And I think as a quasi-adult, I definitely do a better job of controlling it. But this Ben Simmons thing's got me all in the feels. And I know a lot of people have been tweeting about it. I know a lot of people are eager to hear what Ben Simmons has to say today as he speaks at 11:30 today. As he officially gets introduced as a member of the Brooklyn Nets, even though he was on the sideline last night for the Brooklyn Nets snapping their 11-game losing streak. Seth Curry went off in their game. Andre Drummond had a nice Nets debut as well. But Ben Simmons was sitting there on the sideline, yucking it up, mashed up with his new Nets teammates. So right away, he's on the bench there for the Sixers, or for the Nets, and he was not for the Sixers, as we all know. So we're going to get into that conversation and other people's reactions to Ben Simmons being there, him out there pregame, slapping fives and hugging Kevin Durant and all that. We're going to get into that conversation as, again, Ben speaks to the media today at 11:30. Then at noon, James Harden gets introduced as a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. He was already out there yesterday at practice. Sixers having a lot of fun yesterday by tweeting this picture out, a little caption contest here with James Harden with his arms up in the air. So there were some great captions. There really were just some phenomenal captions to this. One of my favorites was when your teammates say, we're going to the Delilah's after practice. Yeah! It was Valentine's Day yesterday. One of my other favorites was when your crush checks yes in the will you go out with me, yes or no paper that she slips you in your your converted shoebox into a Valentine's Day receptacle. That's I remember doing that as kids. That was always a good time. So that's just a couple of things. Maybe that's just a couple of things that people can look at and go back and enjoy. But then there was this. If you didn't see this yesterday, here is Ben on the side. So he looks happy. And then this is the gif of him just sitting there with Andre Drummond. If that was a caption, I think the caption to that should be Ben saying to Andre Drummond, hey, great to be joining you guys. Andre Drummond saying, hey, funny story, Ben. I was actually on your last team as well. We were both traded together. Ben then would respond, no way. Like, I think that would be the perfect caption to that thing right there. Now, here's what started some controversy yesterday. And by the way, later in this show today, I decided I wanted to hear a couple of things that Ben had to say the last time he addressed the media. And I wanted to go back and kind of sift through some of that. So I went back to the Sixers website. And I don't know if this is policy after a guy gets traded, but there was nothing of Ben Simmons on the Sixers website. There's Joel Embiid. I have a cut from that. There's Doc Rivers. There's Seth Curry. So, yeah, Seth Curry's there. Ben Simmons isn't there. Just dawning on me now. Oh, way to go, idiot. But, like, for me, I wanted to hear what Ben had to say. So nothing was on the Sixers website from Ben Simmons after they had lost to the Atlanta Hawks. Fortunately, I don't throw away anything. I'm a bit of a hoarder when it comes to sound bites. And I went back through my own personal files, and there was one clip I had of Ben Simmons after the loss to the Hawks. And it is haunting. And we'll let you hear from him in just a second. But it is, I even played it for PJ before the show, and he was like, oh, that's weird. And yeah, we'll play it for you. But our old friend, Howard Eskin, put out a tweet yesterday saying, I feel bad for anyone that actually suffers from mental health when you see Ben Simmons automatically fine. And that started a bit of a firestorm. And I happen to notice the people that really took issue with what Howard had to say were people from outside the market, non-Sixers fans. Because I just want to prepare Sixers fans for something that's about to happen. Now, I want to make this clear. I have been skeptical of Ben Simmons. The entire time I've said, I want to hear from Ben. Because we haven't heard from Ben. The only thing we have heard is all things from his camp. It's not even a direct quote from Ben Simmons. There was one media member out of New York yesterday that tweeted something along the lines of people trying to read it in one 10-second clip. And I'm like, what 10-second clip is he talking about? Is there a 10-second clip of Ben Simmons saying, yeah, my mental health isn't there and I can't play. I'm seeing a psychiatrist or whatever. There's nothing like that. Nothing like that exists. That's all things from people from Ben's camp or leaked things from sources that you'll hear from Brian Windhorst or whoever it might be in the media talking about Ben Simmons' mental health status. Today is the day we'll finally hear from Ben Simmons. But when Howard tweeted out the video that I just showed you of Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons high-fiving and hugging and embracing and looking like they're having a great time, a lot of people jumped on Howard saying, how dare you question a man's mental health? And a lot of people saying, I do suffer with mental health. How dare you say anything about it? Like, for anyone that does go through mental health issues, my heart goes out to you. And I cannot be more happy with the way society has gone, with being a lot more accepting, a lot more understanding is the better word to use, a lot more understanding at other people's struggles when it comes to mental health. But even if you're arguing the case of, you don't know Ben Simmons, you don't know what he's going through, even if that's your point, even if that's your argument, isn't it odd to you that the second he got traded, he was on the sidelines, he was on the floor, he was on the court, dabbing it up with people? Like, isn't that odd? And for the people that say, oh, you've never been in a job you didn't like, I think we've all been in a job we didn't like. And yes, that hasn't made us the happiest. But because your job sucks, does that mean that you have anxiety, depression, whatever obsessive compulsive disorder? Like, I don't put those two things together. Yeah, sometimes you have to do things that sucks and it doesn't make you the happiest. I thought that's when life kicks you. Like, I just thought that happens to everybody. And I always say this, whenever I talk about anxiety or depression, like, I went through my own mental health thing when I was younger. And I've told you guys before, it was an obsessive compulsive thing. And it was just nuts. And that's me speaking about me, just my own experience. And I sought help and I got it. And I'm 1,000 times better. I'm in a much better place because of it. But when it comes to somebody referencing mental health, or it comes to somebody, their camp referencing it, if that gets out there and it's not true, aren't you going to be like, hey, I don't want to take away from anyone that's going through something real. I just don't like my job. Like, I don't like when you talk about Antonio Brown, for instance. Antonio Brown recently came out and said, I got no problem with mental health. I'm fine mentally. That's totally fine. I'm glad he said that, because it's possible to be mentally healthy 100% and still be a jerk and just still be an idiot. Like, those things can be mutually exclusive. So for me, I'm waiting to hear from Ben. I'm reserving 100% of judgment for that. I want to hear what he has to say, because it wouldn't surprise me at all today if Ben just came out and said, yeah, I don't know where the mental health stuff came. I just didn't feel like it was the right fit there. I didn't want to be there anymore. like if he says that, it's like, well, what are you going to say about that? I won't 100% believe what he has to say, but that's definitely an avenue he could go today. And as you're about to hear, the last time we heard from Ben Simmons, he brought up mentality, at least. This is Ben Simmons. Listen to this. This is Ben Simmons after the Sixers lost to the Hawks. The last time we heard from him, this is what he had to say. Take a listen.
I am who I am. It is what it is. It's not easy to win, and it shows. Nets got finished by Bucks. It's not easy to win. And I work, so I think the first thing I'm gonna do is clear my mind and get my mental right.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you hear that at the end there? I gotta get my mental right, is what Ben Simmons says in his last press conference. The last time he addressed the media, the last time we've actually heard from Ben Simmons. I gotta get my mental right. He was asked about expanding his game, improving. He talked about the missed dunk at the end of the game. That was after Joel Embiid addressed the media and said the turning point in the game was, actually, you know what? I'm just going to play it for you. Rather than paraphrase it again, because I know this is going to get twisted and it's going to be taken out of context, I want to give you the full context. Joel Embiid was asked this question after that loss to the Hawks. And I just want to go back to it verbatim, what he had to say. And he was asked the question about when he knew, when it really hit him, that they weren't going to be winning that game against the Hawks. When he knew that this Sixers team was not going to be advancing past Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Here is how Joel Embiid answered that question. Take a listen to this.
I'll be honest. I thought the turning point was.
Hey Joel, what was the moment for you personally tonight where your belief in what you had in terms of this being the Sixers' year turned to the recognition that it just wasn't going to happen?
Man, I'll be honest. I thought the turning point was, when we, I don't know how to say it, but I thought the turning point was just, we had an open shot and, we made one free throw and we missed the other, and then they came down and scored, and we didn't get a good possession on the other end, and Trey came back and he made a three, and then from there, down 4, and then it's on me. I turn the ball over and try to, make something happen from the perimeter, but I thought that was a turning point.
Sorry for the skip there in the beginning. So the first thing he says is Ben Simmons, basically, he missed a shot, only made one free throw. That was Matisse Thybulle. And then Joel Embiid talks about what he did wrong. That was the turning point in the game. Started with the Ben, passing on the dunk, literally passing. Matisse Thybulle's miss, Joel Embiid's missed three-pointer, Joel Embiid's turnover, one of 8 that he had in that game, Game 7. He also had 8 in Game 6. So Joel Embiid highlights a whole list of things in the final 3 minutes and 30 seconds of that Game 7. It's not just Ben Simmons. For the people that just want to say, oh, he just totally threw him under the bus. Oh, the Philadelphia, what a toxic environment. That's the word I kept seeing yesterday. Oh, it's amazing what a change of scenery can do for somebody, for their mental health. Yeah, I'm sure getting a better job, working with people that you like more is better for your mental health. But are we really grouping that, like not liking your job, having to do something that sucks, along the lines of depression, anxiety, whatever you want to call it? Like, to me, that is just, I think it's horrible, and I can't do that. And whenever I talk about myself in this regard, and people especially that go through anxiety, I can't relate to it. And that's not a brag or anything like that. That's me understanding that I don't know what you're going through. That's me trying to be open-minded, because for me, anytime I ever felt overwhelmed, and I would take that to my mom or dad or anyone in my family or my group of friends, they would look at me and go, just get it done. Like, oh, you got this to do for school, you got this to do in life, for your work, whatever. Just get it done. And if anxiety for me could be cured with just get it done, like that's not anxiety. Like that, I don't fall in the same category as people that really suffer from it. And it's all about mindset and how you approach it. So if any feeling I have of being overwhelmed or anything like that can be dismissed with that sentence, then I don't have it. Like, I don't, oh, but I'm so anxiety. Oh, yeah, when I have anxiety. No, I feel like I'm belittling your legit feelings by telling you how I'm feeling. Like, I feel like that's just not right. So for me, I step aside. I remove myself from it. I try to look at it objectively. And if I'm looking at it objectively, I don't see two equals here. I'm looking at someone else suffering, someone else that tells me that they're suffering, like people in my life that tell me they go through it. I can't identify with it. So I just try to listen and learn. That's it. I try to remove myself from it. I feel like people are looking at Ben Simmons right now, and I think a lot of people are waiting to hear what he does have to say, his side of the story, if you will, straight from the horse's mouth, not sources, not reports, anything like that. And I feel like they're looking at Ben right now, and they're trying to figure out how they're supposed to feel about this guy. And I feel like once people read from afar, like Nets fans that haven't lived this story since the summer, when you first heard about Ben having any issues with mental health, possibly having issues with mental health, I feel like people just heard mental health nationally and went, oh, his mental health. So I'm not going to come down on a guy that has mental health issues. But if you're a Philadelphia Sixers fan, and you're a person like me, by the way, that has supported Ben Simmons throughout his entire career here in Philadelphia and had his back, well, oh, Ben Simmons sucks. Nah, I don't really think he does suck. If you're someone like me, you're waiting for that next step in Ben Simmons' career. You're waiting for that development. And then all of a sudden the white flag went up with mental health issues. It was odd that it wasn't until he started getting fined, it wasn't until he was threatened with those fines that mental health came up. Interesting. And then as soon as he was traded, he was there doing the thing that would have prevented him from being fined in Philadelphia if he just showed up to games and sat on the bench. If he went to practice. Like all that. It's very odd to me. The second he's traded, everything seems fine. That's odd. That's someone not liking his job and wanting to be there anymore. That's not necessarily somebody I think that's going through mental health issues. That's just what it appears at the surface. But we'll hear from Ben at 11:30 today. There are people, and I will warn you of this, and this is where I started to get angry. And I saw a lot of people in the New York media tweeting things out along the lines of, changing work environments can certainly help your mental health. I don't disagree with that. But don't refer to Philadelphia as some toxic environment. And I know I always go back to the Guangzhou Long Lions game where Ben Simmons hit a three-pointer and the Wells Fargo Center went nuts. Like, not a lot of fan bases are going crazy for a three-pointer in an exhibition game against the Long Lions from China. But we did, because we wanted to support Ben Simmons and we wanted to see him take his next step in that game. But I see a lot of people referring to Philadelphia now as this toxic environment where we're just like horrible people, bad fan base, the coach hates them, Joel Embiid hates them. Explain this to me then. If we're so toxic, then why was it Ben refusing to return text messages or calls from Doc Rivers in the offseason? And then Ben supposedly gets upset when Doc Rivers doesn't go and visit him in Los Angeles, even though the two were out there in LA at the same time. Ben got upset at Doc for not coming to visit him when Ben wouldn't return texts or calls from Doc Rivers. So how do you know Doc wasn't trying to set up a time to get together if you weren't taking his calls and returning the texts? Interesting. And your teammates wanted to go out and visit you before training camp started to have a conversation to try to bring you back. And you said, nah, I'm good. And then, even after all that, Joel Embiid takes the microphone, opening night at the Wells Fargo Center, and says, welcome to Philadelphia, welcome back to the Wells Fargo Center. We love the fans. You guys are great, and let's still support Ben because he's still our brother. Out, boom, and he runs away. Like, he dropped the line there about Ben leaving the door open here, and it just didn't work out. But that is, I just tell people this is what you got to brace yourself for. When it comes to the Ben Simmons situation, and people will start to try to blame Philadelphia, and not just the city and the fans, but obviously Doc Rivers and what he had to say after the game against the Hawks and what Joel Embiid had to say. Is it really toxic if people are acknowledging not only their own faults like Joel Embiid does? Because interesting enough, in the opening line of his press conference after that Hawks game, he talked about his own turnovers. Yeah, he had to be better in all of that. But when people bring up the city of Philadelphia, the fan base, Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid, is it really that toxic if people are just saying, yeah, you got to make your shot? Is it really that toxic for people to say a basketball player's got to make a shot? I feel like I have to relive. I feel like I'm going through the entire Game 7 loss all over again. And not only that, but Ben Simmons' entire career here in Philadelphia. You're going to hear a lot of stuff. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite shows, Parks and Rec, and one of my favorite characters in the history of television, Ron Swanson, when he goes into, I think it was like Home Depot or something. And the guy that works there goes up to Ron Swanson and he goes, "Oh, can I help you with anything, sir?" And Ron Swanson just looks at him and goes, "I know more than you." And then just keeps walking. When people from the New York media, when fans from the New York fan base, from the Brooklyn fan base, try to tell you about Ben Simmons, Philadelphia, and 76ers fans, simply just be Ron Swanson. Just look at them and go, "I know more than you," and then just keep on walking. And I feel like that's the best way we can handle this situation, because it is only going to become toxic. And then I'm going to go to my youth where I just let my temper go nuts. And I don't want to be that guy. That's not good for anybody. So that's where we are right now. On a lighter note, James Harden is a member of the 76ers, and that's fun. We got some bad news. Now, James Harden is going to be addressing the media at noon today. Ben Simmons, 11:30. James Harden at noon. So that's nice. But yesterday at practice, James Harden was out there shooting around with the Sixers. And one of the best things I saw was Tyrese Maxey right there in James Harden's hip pocket. Both of them shooting around, shooting threes, being next to each other, Tyrese Maxey learning. Because, look, I don't know how long James Harden's going to be here in Philadelphia. The rest of this year, all of next year, sign a 3-year, 5-year deal, whatever it is after this year, whatever it might be. But the long-lasting impression that James Harden can make is going to be within Tyrese Maxey. Point guard to point guard, at least right now. Veteran with second-year player. That, to me, is going to be the lasting impression for this Sixers franchise, of not just what you can physically get out of James Harden, but what kind of impression he can make on a young guy like Tyrese Maxey, who's going to be here, I hope, for a decade. So for me, I think that's a huge thing. Now, Doc Rivers, and in this, you'll see some of the B-roll from NBC Sports Philadelphia of James Harden shooting around. But Doc Rivers was asked about James Harden's first day with the new team.
Just stand next to him and hope he did everything, you know. We didn't do anything live, but we did all the skeleton work, all the, defensive walkthrough stuff, all the shooting. We did everything everybody else did. It was just, obviously he's a high IQ basketball player, so a lot of the things we do is stuff he does anyway, and some of the other things, we just threw him out there and had him do it, and he kind of figured it out. So it was good.
And that's great. He's out there shooting around, having himself a good time, getting to know his teammates. Doc, after that, went on to say that James Harden is a guy that's pretty easy to incorporate into your offense. And that's what I've been trying to tell people about. As I know a lot of people are like upset that Seth Curry is no longer here in Philadelphia. He had a great game last night, 23 points, I think it was, for the Nets. Good for him. Happy for him. But the offense is not going to be a problem here in Philadelphia. You have a guy that could, in this offense, I think, average at 25 points per game in James Harden. You have a guy averaging 30 points per game plus in Joel Embiid, who leads the NBA in scoring. That offense is not going to be a problem here. Sharing the ball, I don't think, is going to be a big problem here in Philadelphia. The fact that you have James Harden averaging around 8-9 assists a game, also 8-9 rebounds a game, by the way, mixed with Joel Embiid, who's now averaging around 6-7 assists per game over the last month at least. So for me, I don't think offense is going to be a big problem here. You also have Tyrese Maxey, who can score the ball for you. So for me, offense is not going to be the problem. Defense, okay, we're going to need a little help on defense probably. Rebounding, probably still going to need a little help on rebounding as well. But for me, offense won't be the problem. Andre Drummond is what has me a little bit more upset than Seth Curry. I mean, who's the better basketball player, Seth Curry or Andre Drummond? Seth Curry. Who do the Sixers need a little bit more? Right now, would it be more of a Seth Curry or would it be more of an Andre Drummond? Without question, it'd be Andre Drummond. So for me, offense isn't the worry. And Doc Rivers said, as this goes on, James Harden is not going to be a problem fitting in offensively. But he also said what they will install probably later this week is end-of-game packages, because it comes down to who gets the final shot. And I had this conversation with some friends of mine last week, Thursday. We were on a Zoom call for this project I'm working on. And for me, I find it very interesting when people say, oh, well, Joel Embiid's a center, so he can't be your closer. Really? Interesting. First off, don't be so broad and just put Joel Embiid in the mix of every other center in the NBA, because I'll say this. Yeah, you're right in that usually 98% of the time, centers can't be your closers. But But if you could shoot a step-back jump shot, if you could shoot a fadeaway, if you could shoot a step-back three-pointer, if you could go to the line and hit free throws, then I think you can be a closer. Oh, but he's a center. Oh, then he can't do any of that. No, but Joel Embiid can. Guys like Joel Embiid, and I know, I'm sorry, Nikola Jokic, for instance, guys like that, they can be closers because their game isn't like every other center in the NBA. Their game is very special, but Joel Embiid particularly, because Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, whoever it might be, Matisse Thybulle, can look at Joel Embiid and go, who does he want to be tonight? Does he want to be Dirk Nowitzki? Does he want to be Shaq? Which one of those players does he want to be? Does he want to be Jordan? Who does he want to be in terms of style of play? Because Joel Embiid can do all of it. He can run the whole gambit. And why is that? Because he worked his ass off to make sure he had every shot in his arsenal available when the team needed him. So he can shoot those step-back jumpers, those step-back threes. He can hit jump shots for you. He can hit a fadeaway. He can be the closer for you. But now you have James Harden on this team. So who gets the last shot? That, to me, will be the sticking point between these two players as the season goes on. Who gets the call? Who gets the final shot? If it's me, it still goes to Joel Embiid. And that is if it's in the 10 seconds left on the clock and he has time to work. If it's the last second of a game and it's an inbounds play, whatever it might be, I need James Harden, top of the key, open for that shot. It's similar to the way they broke it down a year ago when it came to, is it going to be Tobias Harris? Is it going to be Joel Embiid? Who's going to get that final shot? Well, if you have some time on the clock for Joel Embiid to work his magic, because he does need time, then it goes to Joel Embiid. If it's an absolute last-second shot, it goes to James Harden. And I think that's the way Doc Rivers will try to figure it out. Now, I mentioned Doc a couple of times already. Here is, and I started this, but it was my mistake. Here's Doc Rivers talking about what James Harden could do for Tyrese Maxey as their careers grow together. Or, excuse me, as they start to play together.
Just stand next to him and hope it rubs off. Really, I love we've gone from our skill development, when I got here, everybody was doing individual workouts, every single guy on every basket. And I was like, I thought this was a team game. And so we've gone to more 2 and 3 guys, pods on baskets, just to get guys to try to get each other. And clearly, our first day, we wanted to make sure that James and Tyrese are together because just being together will help Tyrese.
And learn, play and learn from a guy like James Harden isn't the guy to learn from. So look forward to that influence on Tyrese Maxey, and I look forward to just watching this offense come to fruition because, as I've said many times before, the whole process was to get to this point. You already have Joel Embiid. The process provided Joel Embiid. The process provided Ben Simmons, and now Ben Simmons became that trade piece for James Harden. So now it's all culminating. We're getting to the climax here for the Sixers. At least I hope so. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. Before I get to our chat check today, no guests today. Just have a lot I wanted to get off my chest here, especially Ghostbusters. Man, Ivan Reitman, just terrible. Let me tell you about the great people of Destination Retirement and my man, Mike Seibert, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Seibert is an RICP, a financial advisor for Eagles fans only. You heard that right. Eagles fans only. His firm, Destination Retirement LLC, destinationretirement.com, is a full-service planning firm and an affiliate of 1847 Financial. Let him create a written financial plan for your accumulation years and your distribution years. With pensions few and far between, you're on your own when you retire with only a 401k or IRA. So let Mike help you turn your assets into an efficient income stream that you can't outlive. Mike Seibert is here to put a plan in place to help you retire, or if you're already in retirement, he's here to put a plan in place to alleviate people's biggest fear, running out of money. Come on, Eagles fans, with stock market volatility and taxes probably going up, you need someone as your financial head coach with the experience to tackle these obstacles. With over 30 years of experience in the financial game, Mike Seibert is a seasoned veteran who's committed to helping Eagles fans get through and to retirement. You can reach Mike at 484-275-6035. That's 484-275-6035, or visit destinationretirement.com. Click on the Find Out link at the top of the page and fill out the questionnaire to see how prepared you are for retirement. Mike will get back to you and talk to you about how you can help. And as always, go Birds. Destinationretirement.com. Oh, man, Steven Singer, what a day yesterday. Did you get the Gold Dip Rose? Because here's what People will look at the gold dip rose and they go, who would want a gold dip rose? And then you get a gold dip rose and you're like, this is amazing. It's just the iPod. I gave my wife yesterday the Emerald City gold dip rose from Steven Singer. 24 karat gold. Fantastic. The next time this opportunity comes up for you folks, get yourself a gold dip rose. It's $59. And you know it's going to wow the lady or that special someone in your life. Just like it wowed my missus yesterday. So I hope you guys hit, obviously hit Valentine's Day out of the park. And just remember, for all your big jewelry purchases, Steven Singer Jewelers is the place you got to go. Real jewelers, real experts that walk you through everything. So you never go in there feeling like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, because you got somebody right there helping you. You can tell them your price range, and here's what you can also know. You're not getting taken advantage of at Steven Singer Jewelers. Oh, no, because every day it's set at the perfect price. Every single day. Oh, I got this coupon out of the thing. No. Every day, the perfect price. Oh, my friend, Mo sent me. No. We don't know no promo code. Perfect price every single day at Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Steven's been in the love business in Philadelphia for over 40 years, helping people get engaged. And his Ready for Love diamond engagement rings are standing by at the ready in case you want to pop the question. Maybe you had a Valentine's Day first date. Maybe you just started a relationship yesterday. If that was the case, interesting, bold strategy. But if that was the case, maybe love is in the air already. Maybe you're a clinger and you don't even know it. Steven Singer's the place to go. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price. I hate stevensinger.com. I want to jump into the chat because I know you guys have a lot going on as well. And I want to definitely get you guys in here before you move on. Do I have anything else I want to get to the top? No. Oh, Sixers Celtics tonight. Not going to see James Harden obviously until after the All-Star break, as we know now. But at least the Sixers are back in action against the Celtics tonight. It's always good. TNT, by the way. 7:30 tip-off tonight. Kevin, good morning to you. Dan, good morning to you. Mally, April, Sean, what's going on, everybody? Nice to have you. Mullet petition? Did I get that right? Welcome to the chat. Never seen you before. Always nice to have some new people. Kevin just says, good morning. Mally says, what's up? April says, good morning, fam. Kevin says the same. Mally, I still want a PJ day. What do you mean PJ day? Like PJ and I just talk for an hour? I can do that. I talk to PJ for an hour. But you have to do it in person, though. Standing next to one another, just so you see PJ and how like 7'5" he is. You know what I'm saying? I love when you guys say hello and good morning to each other. It's beautiful. Mullet petition for Alvarado. Yo to you. Mullet man. All right, Dan. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. Thank you, Mullet man. I appreciate it. My buddy Dave, he owns his own company now. But when he was just starting at that same company, corporate takeover, he's an architect, and he was walking through a building with his big bosses, right? And they had the blueprints down on the table, and the one guy goes, where do these stairs go? And my buddy Dave, who's significantly younger than everybody in the room, goes, they go up. And it's that kind of line from the movie Ghostbusters, that subtle line that like never is funny except in that instance. And then Dave goes, well, they go up. And everyone looked at him like, what the hell? And then like 6 years later, Dave bought the company. So there, last laugh is for Dave. Dan, we will get Harry Mays on. That is a promise I will fulfill. I promise you that. Disco Tank is back on WIP. Yes, he is. Tank and I were talking last week, as a matter of fact. Ghostbusters will always be a classic. Watch them every time they're on. They are click and sticks for me. They absolutely are. Flipping around. Oh, Ghostbusters. Throw the remote away. Just watch the rest of it. My brother actually has a huge, I told you guys before, my brother's like fun side hustle is he'll go to like conventions and sell nostalgia. So he'll sell like the Vigo, was it Vigo the Destroyer? The Carpathian, the Vigo the Destroyer, like almost actual size poster of Vigo standing there. Oh, you know what he needs? He needs a kitten. Anyway, but yeah, he has an actual size thing of it. Maybe I should get one on my backdrop here. Much respect. April, looked like his mental health was A-okay yesterday. I want to say this one more time. For the people that are coming at the people questioning Ben's mental health status, realize we're not talking about you, the person with mental health issues. we find everything suspect with Ben. Everything. Because nothing was acknowledged with mental health, especially in this day and age when everyone is so understanding about, well, the vast majority of people, a growing number of people are becoming more and more understanding about other people's conflicts, mentally speaking. If that was the case, why was it only brought up when the money factored in? And why was he on the sidelines right away once he was traded? And don't give me this is some toxic environment. That's just BS. That is such a lazy narrative. That is just like, once you say, oh, well, it's a toxic environment, everything you're saying is wrong. Just stop talking. Like, that's, to me, when I hear, oh, it's a toxic environment in Philadelphia. Okay. All right. I understand there's different levels of toxicity, intoxication, whatever. I understand there's different levels of it. The Sixers were not a bad one. Your coach talking about how he's not sure if he can win with you as a point guard isn't the most toxic thing in the world. A player referencing your missed dunk and then later his own faults is not some toxic working environment. It ain't that toxic. Like, the Sixers were never like, oh, good riddance to Ben. Hopefully he never comes back. Oh, that guy, he's off his rocker. The Sixers were never like that. They literally wanted to meet up with him. Players from this organization wanted to go out and meet with him. Doc Rivers wanted to meet with him. Doc Rivers was reaching out to him in the offseason. Ben's the one that made it toxic. Anyway. Let's see here. Oh, no way. Oh, April, I don't know how I'm going to handle this. Ooh. I don't even like people joking. Like, my daughter has a consistent play date. She's 2.5. And, the boy's 2.5 as well. And people are like, oh, Emmanuel's boyfriend. And I'm like, is that supposed to be funny? Because that's not funny. And I love the kid. The kid's awesome. Like, the kid's 2.5. And I'm like, oh, I don't like his status in life. He's got to get a better job if he wants to date my daughter. But, and the parents are great. Parents, and we've become great friends. But it's like, when people joke about that with my daughter, I'm like, what are you, no. But anyway, April. So, okay. April says her daughter came home with a Valentine's Day and candy from her boyfriend. And she says, I have to give him credit. He remembered she likes dark chocolate. I told her he pays better attention than most guys. Look at that. But at least he's a knowledgeable kid. And at least your daughter knows what she wants, April. How about that? And that was a great line from you. Most guys don't even remember. Dan Schwartz, can't wait to see what that fraud has to say. I'm telling you, I'm not going to lose my mind over Ben. I told you guys I'm going to keep my word. I am not going to lose my mind over Ben Simmons until I hear him speak. I want to hear him explain himself. I want to hear what he has to say because, again, we have not heard from Ben Simmons we have not heard from Ben Simmons since the last game of last season. John, I was glancing at something earlier and I wanted to make sure I got that in, and I don't know what happened to it. I will make sure I get it in. John, there you are. Good morning. Right off the bat, this won't be an isms day. Thank you, John. I got a lot to get off my chest regarding the situation with Ben Simmons, I'm assuming. Sean, good morning, Sean. Nice to have you. Fuji, what's going on? April, as someone who has mental health issues my whole life, I think it is total BS that he used this as an excuse, and it will make people second guess when someone has a legit issue. That's my biggest concern. Is this impact? Like, are people going to look at it down the line and go, well, it could be like Ben Simmons, where it wasn't really an issue, and he's trying to use it as an excuse to cover up just him not wanting to be somewhere. Like, that's my basically, my biggest fear is that we have made so much progress as a society with how we have treated people that have had mental health disorders. Now, will those people that have been tough on it, I think just ignorant on the subject, will it make those people go, oh, well, it could just be like Ben, like, oh, Ben Simmons, oh, yeah, health problems, like mental health problems. Yeah, okay. John saying, I think something along the lines, people all around the world legit struggle with anxiety, depression, and other forms of true mental health issues. Ben Simmons claims mental health all because he didn't want to do his job. Ben was only worried about protecting his money. True. Still got fined anyway. Mally, no, my guy, you got to get your jump shot right. True Mally. I assume that's a response to what he had to say at the end of last season. Look at what Ben did. This is John again. Look at what Ben did. He didn't like what was said and didn't have the team kissing his ass, so he didn't want to show up. He couldn't handle that, and there was somebody out there not calling him great. Like, that's the biggest thing for me, is that the Sixers, I think, offered Ben the first criticism. Like, Ben, to me, is, to sum up how he has been as a Philadelphia 76er and really how he's been as a basketball player, even since his LSU days, Ben, to me, has been a guy that was never harshly criticized. He was a guy that was told he was great from get-go, and then once he got into a situation where he didn't have to do anything, once he got into a situation he didn't have to do anything he didn't want to do, he got really comfortable. Why should I improve my free throws? Why should I improve my three-point shooting? Why should I incorporate that in the game when I'm already an all-star? Like, people were like telling me that I was being way too harsh at the time, but I'll never forget when friend of the show, Jack McCaffrey from the Delco Times, asked Ben Simmons 2 years ago about improving his outside game. And Ben was like, yeah, well, I'm working on it. So, yeah, I'm just going to try to work on it. Well, you haven't really been getting the results. So what are you going to do? Oh, well, yeah, well, I'm an all-star. So, like, oh, so you're an all-star. So everything about your game is great? Like, that's the difference between a perennial all-star and a perennial MVP candidate. I can't say that enough. And I know I've said that a million times already. But it was like the moment somebody told you, yeah, Ben, those pants do make your butt look big. Oh, God, get me out of here. All right, good luck to you. You know that how cold Kevin Durant was with not drafting James Harden in the All-Star game? I look forward to that moment where Ben really pisses off Kevin Durant. Like, I want to see that happen. Somebody with a little bit more clout around the league. Like, I just want to see that happen. More on mental health. The minute KD turns on Ben, Mally, okay, you and I are on the same thing. The minute KD turns on Ben, he's going to have 8 burner accounts destroying Ben. I would love to see, what was it, Eric Jr., the fake Twitter account with Brian Colangelo and his Babs, his lovely wife. I would love to see Eric Jr. and KD's fake, their burner accounts going back and forth on how much Ben sucks. Gintus. What's up, Gintus? New one in the chat. Nice to have you. He had a mental breakdown in the Atlanta series. No NBA player should shoot 34% from free throw line. So I wouldn't consider the yips like an overall mental health disorder or a mental health struggle. I would call that more of a mindset, an athlete's mindset. But like yips, yeah, you got to get your mind right. But I just wouldn't put that in the same classification as people that are going through other, forms of anxiety or depression or anything like that. Seeing James Harden smiling and happy with the team and doing everything was refreshing. John, I couldn't agree more. Just to see him running around yesterday was great. It was a little bit of a air out of the balloon moment when James Harden when it was announced that he wasn't going to be playing for the Sixers until after the All-Star game, which is Saturday. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, come on, man. Just wanted to see him play. And then when I heard Doc Rivers talking about the hamstring injury, they want to be as safe as possible. He's had a number of these hamstring injuries over the last 2 seasons, so they want to make sure it's nothing that's going to be hampering him going forward, which I get, and quite frankly, fine. Because the last 2 months of the season, getting ready for the playoffs, I want to make sure, James Harden is 100%. It also made me think back to Charles Barkley's line about how, now he's traded, now he's fine. Not exactly the case. And I don't think it's anything that's a facade, because I don't think the Sixers would take away games where they have the availability of James Harden. Oh, well, let's make it look legit and have him not play yet. By the way, did you see the quote from Steve Nash in New York with the Brooklyn Nets about how Ben Simmons will be mentally ready to play when he's physically ready to play? So now the physical part of the game is ready is more important than the mental approach. So now mentally is okay. He just has to get in shape. Wow. What a difference a trade makes. Fantastic. Anybody else catch that little line from Doc about how when he first got here, everyone was working out individually at each of the baskets at the Camden practice facility? Thought that was odd. When Brett Brown got fired, Ben lost his number one yes man. Like, here's the thing. Ben, and I agree, I see what you're saying, Mally, but Ben was also the first person that publicly challenged Ben Simmons was Brett Brown. And that was after the game where Ben, I think, shot 8 free throws and made a three-pointer. And Brett Brown said after the game, I want him to shoot at least 8 free throws and 1 three-pointer a game. That was the first ever public challenge to Ben Simmons. It never happened again. I don't think there was one instance where it happened again after that, where he did both those things in one game. So Brett Brown was the first to publicly challenge him, and I thought that was a very fair thing to do. Doc Rivers then did nothing but kiss Ben Simmons' ass throughout their time together in Philadelphia, throughout that first year, and Ben rewarded it by not being better. And then in the playoffs, Doc Rivers said, I'm not benching Ben Simmons. And then he benched Ben Simmons. And then Doc Rivers was asking to win a championship with Ben as your point guard. I don't know. That doesn't go over well. But all the more reason to have an offseason conversation that Ben apparently wanted to have but didn't want to have. Go away. No, stay. Go away. No, stay. Leave me alone. No, come over. Whatever. Yeah, I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people. Mally, he absolutely publicly challenged Ben. He literally said it. Kevin Guest, what's up, man? Good morning. If Ben Simmons had the yips for the Hawks series, I'd love to see him play Charles Barkley in golf. I would love to see that as well. 62 Fairlane. What's happening? Everyone is an expert on mental health, or are they? No, I think people just have a lot of questions. See, that's the thing. Like, I'm not equating what somebody else is going through to what Ben is going through. I haven't followed somebody else's mental health or mentality the way I have followed Ben Simmons, who I've listened to, followed, interviewed, all that other. Like, I can't speak on anybody else because I haven't watched press conferences with them. I haven't watched them perform. I haven't read a million reports on their mental health and how they're approaching things. Like, I haven't followed them like I followed Ben Simmons. There was no senior players on the Sixers to kick Ben's butt till Jimmy joined. Ooh, and that didn't go well. That did not go well at all. Kevin, you can't joke about the boyfriend thing at any age. When in doubt, always go to Bad Boys 2. Yes, I will look at Bad Boys 2 for my my parenting advice. Oh, man. PJ, my only TO issue is that he won't let that BS go with McNabb. Yeah, I guess. Could you imagine Ghostbusters with Belushi, Aykroyd, and Eddie Murphy? I literally just watched the documentary, Movies That Made Us, last week, and so go check it out. I did check that out. How about this? I didn't realize that He Slimed Me was supposed to be Winston Zedmore's line. I didn't realize that. It went to Bill Murray, though. I don't advise anybody throwing popcorn on Ben Simmons. Let me just say that. I'll just do that right there. What else do we have here? Easy to spot. Okay, 62 fair. 62 fair. No, but easy to spot someone who didn't claim mental health issues until money was being recouped. True. At that point, this is Dan. At that point, he was dug in to back out. He was too dug in to back out. Mental health. Okay. Oh, mental health fine after he was traded. I know sometimes people are typing fast. So I'm trying to read fast. So, Miss Guzzi. Mally, how are you saying that wasn't a challenge from Brett Brown? That was absolutely a challenge from Brett Brown. He literally said, I want to see Ben shoot 8 free throws and 1 3-pointer a game. And then Ben never did it. Like, and that was like in Brett Brown's last stand, too. which is really funny. On the side of my favorite Brett Brown moment, him yelling, Dario, effing move. I was going back through my phone. I was going back through my records because I was looking for some Ben Simmons quotes. And I found an interview I did with Amy Fadul and Dario Saric. He was a fun guy, very fun guy. And then I also remember that same thing. I also found a thing with Ben Simmons. I remember right before we started rolling on camera with Ben, it was me, Ben, and Amy. And I remember Ben came up to us and he was like joking with us and he was funny. And I remember he pulled the Talladega Nights line. He goes, I'm being interviewed. I don't know what to do with my hands. And I was like, what the hell? Personality from Ben? What? And then we started the interview and boom, just the guard, I should do that. The guard went up. You weren't getting anything out of me. Oh, Mally, it really wasn't. Saying something and doing something is different things, Marc. Oh, I agree, but that's on Ben. Brett put it out there, and Ben said, ah. That's what Ben said. And there we go. That's the chat check. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys checking in on the program as per usual. Flyers are in action tonight. So are the Sixers. Looking at the Flyers, I saw some news was out there yesterday from my friend Jordan Hall at NBC Sports Philadelphia, speculating about Claude Giroux ahead of the trade deadline in the NHL as to when Claude Giroux or if Claude Giroux would waive his no movement clause, as it's known in the NHL. My gut is now telling me that Claude's getting moved. If I had to make a prediction on the Flyers as to whether or not Claude Giroux will be here for the rest of the season, my prediction would be no. I think what's holding him back from just waving that outright, or what's held him back from doing that over the last couple of years, is the fact that he's very competitive. He wants to win. He wants to win in Philadelphia. He only knows Philadelphia. He only knows the Flyers organization. And I don't think he wants to go somewhere else and abandon what he has been a part of for so long. I think what will win out, though, is the idea of having a shot to win somewhere else. Because he knows it ain't going to happen here in Philadelphia. He knows in the final year of his deal, it's not all of a sudden going to turn around and they're going to be the St. Louis Blues from a couple of years ago that were like the worst team in the NHL and then won, 15 games in a row, whatever the hell their win streak was, and then they went on to win the Stanley Cup. He knows that's not happening here. If I have to make my prediction, the prediction is that Claude Giroux does not finish the season with Philadelphia Flyers. And it pains me to say, because he's not part of the problem here in Philadelphia. He's been the Flyers' best player for the entire season. He's been the Flyers' best player for many seasons over the last handful of years, really throughout his career here in Philadelphia. He went through a rebuild with Ron Hextall, where they never went all in. He went through another rebuild with Alain Vigneault, where they were able to get to the second round of the playoffs, and that was it. And now they're on another head coach. So for me, I just don't think this is the right fit for Claude Giroux anymore. And I think he's going to realize that. And I think come the trade deadline, he will not be here in Philadelphia. So Flyers are going to be back on the ice tonight. 7 o'clock puck drop in Pittsburgh. Of course, Flyers just lost the home-and-home series with the Red Wings, so they've lost 2 in a row. Sixers, they tip off tonight with the Celtics at 7:30. Looking forward to that matchup, and hopefully the Sixers announce their presence with authority in the Eastern Conference as they have been doing throughout this season. Now, with the Nets winning last night, they're still far from first place in the Eastern Conference standings right now. As a matter of fact, the Nets right now are 7 games out of first place. Sixers 2.5 games out of first place. They're in the 4th seed with the Heat, Bulls, and Cavs still ahead of them. So that's where we're at right now in the Eastern Conference standings. That's our Flyers talk for the year. Dan, you're not that off. You're not that off. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Look forward to hearing from James Harden today. I think James Harden is going to play the hits. I don't think we're going to hear anything from James Harden today that's going to shock us. I think he is going to talk about how he looks forward to playing with Joel Embiid. I think he's going to talk about Tyrese Maxey, what a young, promising, up and coming star that kid is. About how he likes this offense. Doc Rivers said that one of the things he talked about with James Harden was how everything that James Harden has done in his career, offensively speaking, especially since Mike D'Antoni took over as head coach with the Houston Rockets, the Sixers are doing a lot of similar things in their offense. I don't see it, being that this offense is all around Joel Embiid, but if James Harden says that's the deal, then that's the deal. And I look forward to hearing what he has to say about the Sixers offense more specifically when he addresses the media at noon today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Marc Farzetta from the Steven Singer Studios. This is the Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a phenomenal job as per usual. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Be back with you guys tomorrow. See ya.